Welcome to the #1 spot health and wellness practitioners go to double their current income and turn their 10-hour work day into a 10-hour work week. Join us as we dive into the tips, tools, and tech you need to create a life and practice on your own terms. More freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and of course, funds. It's time to build your online practice. And I'm your host, Michelle Rogers, also known as the WELLthy Woman. Be sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of education, inspiration, and action. Let's get started. This is the art of offer creation, and I get a lot of questions around how to create offers, specifically high ticket offers, because that's what I specialize in teaching practitioners to create, because I believe it is the best approach when we want to leverage our time and energy. Because when I speak to practitioners, the most prominent thing that I hear is they're feeling exhausted, depleted, their own health is suffering. Like they're just giving everything and nothing is coming in return, right? And so there's just this constant giving from sustenance. I call it, ideally we want to be giving from overflow instead of from sustenance, okay? So that's why we do high ticket programs. And from there, if you think about it, right, a lot of people are like, well, high ticket programs are not accessible to everyone. And that's okay. They don't need to be accessible to everyone, because what that does is it helps you leverage your time and energy, like I said. So then you have, a handful of high ticket, high value clients that you're working with, which actually frees up so much more time and energy for you, to where you get to actually use that time and energy for however else you want to make an impact, right? That could be volunteering your time, volunteering your energy, volunteering money. It could be having more time and energy to create group programs or programs that reach more people, lower ticket programs, scholarships, pro bono work. The options are endless when you're taken care of as a practitioner, right? Okay, so if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, let me know. Super curious about that. And let me see. Oh, I already have a comment coming in here. So confidence to launch and not going on tangents. Okay, I'll see. Sorry, just another question. I'm going to add it to the list here. Okay, so let's dive into the material I have prepared for you. And all right, so today I am going to be teaching you how to package your services so that people are virtually lining up to buy them. Okay, high value, high ticket offers have transformed my practice and life and the lives of my clients, right? When we are taken care of physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of the things, financially, we are able to show up in such a better way and actually provide even better care for our clients. So our clients tend to get even better results, okay? And that's the goal, right? So, and in fact, once I dialed in this process of offer creation, and the sales process, which is another training, I was able to hit 6 figures in less than 6 months. Okay. And so, as you may or may not know, when people invest, they're invested, right? When people have skin in the game, and usually that means money, they're invested to actually create change, right? It's a little fire under their butt. Okay. So, why offers or your current offers might not be working right now. So the most common things that I see are practitioners making assumptions of what they should be including in their program or package. That could be the type of support, it could be the modalities, it could be anything, right? Programs are incomplete, so maybe they're too short to actually create a transformation, right? Or to get a result that your client is looking for. They could be overcomplicated. So maybe it's just like way too much stuff to where, you're emailing them every day, or you're sending them educational modules, or you're like kind of bombarding them with all of this information, because there's this aspect, this energetic aspect. A lot of times I see with practitioners where we feel like we have to over communicate and kind of prove our worth, or like, oh wow, this person just invested X amount of money with me, like I need to prove to them that it was worth it, right? That comes from parental dynamics and traumas that we don't have to get into right now. But I'm sure you can at least understand where that might come from. Too many offers, right? So there's a lot of times practitioners are starting out and they try to like just make unique offers for each person they come into contact with, because they haven't actually found an offer that people are like, oh yes, this is exactly what I want. So they're like, okay, we'll tweak it here, and then we'll make this, and maybe here's like the 5 other options that we could do, and then maybe we could do that. Like, do you feel how there's a lack of confidence there? Like there's a lack of like stability and security. And so your potential client or patient is going to come in and be like, yeah, I don't know, that feels not very good, right? Instead of you coming in and being like, hey, this is the offer that I've created. It's like, this is why it's valuable. This is how it's going to help you. This is what's included, right? This is what it is. You can feel like the difference in energy, right? One is like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Another reason is kind of caving or shutting down when someone says no, right? So say you created this offer finally, or you tweaked an offer that you currently have, decided on a price, and you present it to someone on a sales call, or whatever you like to call those, and our discovery call, and they say no. And then you're like, you go directly into like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do wrong? Okay, like now I need to reevaluate everything. I just need to tear everything down and like redo this and like overanalyze this. And then you just get stuck again, right? Instead of what it actually is, which is like, oh, that's just not an ideal client, right? That client's just not aligned to this offer that I've created. Because ideally you're creating an offer where you feel super confident and embodied in the worth and the value of that offer. Okay. So another thing I just want to address, another reason why it's likely not working, is that a lot of practitioners I see have this issue with codependency with their clients, where they think that they're 100% responsible to get their clients' results. And that's just simply not true, right? We are there to guide. We are there to support. We are there to motivate. We are there to help, show blind spots, gaps, all of the things, and give our best knowledge, wisdom, experience, ability, whatever that might be. But in the end, it's up to the client or the patient to take the step, to take the action, to follow through with those recommendations. You cannot take personal responsibility for that, right? So I know a lot of you are like, well, how do I like tell them the results I'm going to give them? It's like, you cannot guarantee someone is going to get results, right? You can point out where there might be gaps in previous approaches, whether it's their own approaches or, other practitioners that they've worked with. Labs are a great way to point out those things and say, this is how I'm going to do it different. This is my approach. This is how I do things. And then the client gets to make an empowered decision of whether or not they want to work with you, right? And you do your absolute best, but you can't guarantee that they're going to get like 100% better or anything like that, right? So we need to make sure that we're not being codependent with our clients in that way. So what about when it does work? Like what that feels like. So one, there's alignment, right? It feels really aligned for both you and your client. You feel fantastic in the energetic exchange of value that you're receiving through money, right? And they feel super activated, inspired, motivated, and ready to take action, right? To be invested, they need to invest. Okay. Also, embodiment. When does it work? Embodiment is like when you've created an offer that aligns with your goals and your desired lifestyle, right? When you're fully taken care of. So kind of circling back to what I was mentioning earlier, when you're fully taken care of, you know the value of what you're offering. And this offer doesn't feel like it's overstretching you. It doesn't feel like it's crossing boundaries. It doesn't feel like you're making exceptions and compromising your own integrity, right? There's this real, like, it feels super good and you're super proud of it, super confident in it. And confidence is actually the next thing I had written down, is like just confidence in your offer. And confidence, again, it doesn't mean like I'm 100% confident that I'm going to get 100% results with this client, right? That's a guarantee you can't make. There are so many variables at hand, right? You're not with them 24/7. But having confidence that your approach, your integrity, like your commitment to excellence, not perfection, excellence, your commitment is to do your very best. So having confidence in knowing that you're going to guide them to your best ability. And sometimes that might mean referring out, right? So let's talk a little bit of logistics around creating your offer. So how was I able to create currently I have an $18,000 program, and I've decided this year I'm not taking on any new one-on-one clients, but 18,000 is where I left off. And how I got there, I initially, for those of you who don't know my story, first 4 years of practice, I was primary care provider in Oregon and Washington, was in the insurance paradigm. I had acquired a practice. I had over 200 patients, was working, I think, 4 days a week and making six figures barely, and thought I had made it. And I was depressed and like, oh my God, like, I cannot imagine doing this for like another 5 years, let alone another 20 years. Like, what is this? This is not what I signed up for. And so after, I did that, I did go into private practice for 2 years, brick and mortar still. And that's where I started dabbling with programs and packages. And so I was still in brick and mortar and started doing like $3,000 and $6,000 packages and programs with a little bit of success. I had no one guiding me at the time. So this was literally like, I was guessing and like, it was a mess. Like, let's just say that. But after those 2 years, I ended up going completely virtual. That was its whole roller coaster. Did not plan that out well, which is one of the reasons why I created the Wealth Mentorship, to help people not do what I did. But anyways, when I really dove into, I hired a mentor. I hired several mentors, but there was one mentor in particular that I finally hired, who really helped me see things in a way that made sense. And part of that process was creating an offer based on market research. And it's really funny because my sister actually specializes in market research, but I never learned, I never read the books or whatever to actually understand the value of market research when it came to creating an offer and an offer of services, right? I think in my mind, I had thought of market research like, oh, they do that for like physical products, right? Like Coke and Pepsi, they do market research and like, group study groups where they, I don't know. Anyways, different topic, but it never really clicked how valuable and important market research was for a service offer. And so I found my ideal client. For those of you who are in the 30-day challenge for finding your dream clients, amazing. That is the first step. If you want to learn more about that challenge, let me know in the comments. But ideal client, you do your market research with these ideal clients. And from that market research, you have the verbiage, you have their desires, you have what they're dealing with on the day-to-day, so their pain points. You have all of this information to work with. You know what they need, what they want, what works well for them. And from all of that, you get to actually put together a program specifically for the type of people that you want to work with. And it is a beautiful thing. Like, it's amazing. There's literally nothing better than doing that market research, then creating your offer, and then putting it out there and having people message you being like, I have been searching for this. This is exactly what I need. And at that point, guess what? The price really doesn't matter because they feel seen, heard, and understood. So you have this beautiful combination of like all of the things that just completely resonate with them. And you've created your offer in such a way that it aligns with how you want to be living your life, right? Your accessibility, the types of communication you prefer, the days of the week, all of the things, the term length of the container, all of that stuff. So anyways, market research, huge. From that, you can extract and build out a transformation timeline. Some people call it a minimum viable offer, client transformation timeline, whatever you want, but it's basically the stepping stones of your core offer. So it's like point A is where they are right now. Point D is where they want to be, right? Like the goal of where they want to be. And then there's point B, C. Well, I guess D wasn't that far away, but 4 or 5 points along the timeline of different goals or stepping stones that they're hitting along the way. And you can decide what that is based on your special sauce, like your modalities, the type of client that you're working with, what they, what are they trying to work towards? How can you monitor that? Those are all going to be very specific to you as a practitioner and also the type of person that you're working with. But basically, we've got like where they currently are, the result that they want, and then the journey in between. And the journey in between is where you want to have like your core milestones, basically, right? And your offer really is that journey, right? It's like where they are right now, your offer, AKA the journey, and then they end up with the result, okay? And what else do we have here? So what's like a skeleton to build your offer from? Like what are the things that you need to have inside of that offer, or things that you need to consider to have an offer? One is going to be the timing. What is the length of the container? Is it going to be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Again, this information, you're going to be referring back to your market research, right? A lot of times we want to assume like, oh, they would love to have a 12-month container. They would love to have a 3-month container. And unfortunately, our assumptions a lot of times get in the way of creating the perfect offer, okay? Because our assumptions are a lot of times incorrect, right? So modalities. So another sort of pillar or thing that you want to include. Modalities are going to be, are there going to be lifestyle components, nutrition, targeted nutrients, biohacking, NLP, breath work, Reiki? What are the modalities that you love to integrate into your work? And this is, I love this piece because I think a lot of times practitioners think that they need to be pigeonholed into a certain title or modality or whatever. But I know so many practitioners, especially the practitioners that are sort of magnetized to me and like my sort of culture and community, they're very multi-passionate. And so they have a lot of different tools in their toolbox. Some love like human design and like astrology and like a lot of the energetics. And then other people really love infusing like IV therapy or aesthetics or like prolotherapy or like things like that. So there can be so many different things. And guess what? You get to create this offer that is this all-encompassing, unique bundle of you. And that's what really helps to set you aside in the online space, right? Your special sauce is what gives you your little unique shine that magnetizes the perfect people to you. So don't be shy, like don't be afraid to include those things in your offer and talk about them. Another pillar would be like support type or access. both the amount of access and the sort of the medium of access. So how often can they communicate with you? How large are those containers? Is it text? Is it voice? Is it consults? Is it emails? You know, what context and all of that frequency you want to consider. And then additional touch points, you know, are you doing progress tracking? Are you doing questionnaires, assessments, check-in forms, retesting? If you're doing functional labs, all of that kind of stuff. So those are the main sort of like skeleton pieces. And then one of the big questions that comes up is always around pricing, right? It's like, how do I price my offer? And the first step is really to tap into your mindset and your limiting beliefs. And I know some of you are like, oh my God, what is this energetic stuff? But it's so true. And it's around like recognizing your value and your worth, like really stepping into that. Because the fact is, you're offering a life-changing, life-transforming, in some instances, life-saving service. And that is so, so, so valuable. Okay. So like really feel into that. A life transforming service. They are literally going to be different people on the other side of your container. And people value that. Like that is incredibly valuable, right? People throw away 10K plus per year on insurance and they get jack shit, right? Like really. And so to put that into perspective and be like, okay, actually, you could invest that 10K into a program where we're actually going to dive deep and get like actual answers and a solid strategy to get you headed in the right direction. And these aren't just skills that you will learn and apply right now, but they're skills and things that you're learning and applying for a lifetime. And if you have a family, like you get to share that with your family, with your close friends. Like the ripple effect of that is, it's immeasurable, really. Okay. So think about that. And now going back to price, money is a renewable resource. Time is not. Money is a renewable resource. Time is not. Once time is gone, it is gone. We cannot get it back. I can't get the last 5 seconds back ever. They're gone. But whatever money I spent today, I can get that back, no problem. Right? So what is your time worth when considering your prices? What is your time worth? What kind of lifestyle do you want to create? What kind of revenue generation or income is it going to take to support that lifestyle? You know, and this comes to like, what is your idea of success? You know, is your idea of success and the lifestyle that you want like super luxe, like, you know, brand name XYZ, like living large, as they say, or is it super simple and like that makes you happy? It's whatever makes you happy. And just like figuring out logistics, like what would my ideal lifestyle cost? Right. And then how can you sort of reverse engineer like what you would need your revenue be, or at least a range, right, that would work for you. And then what's your ideal capacity, right? And when I say capacity, it's like how much can you handle? How many clients or patients or like consult hours and behind the scenes, like working on your business and in your business, how many hours per week feels really good to you, to where it's like you still have time to take care of yourself, right? Take care of your own health, which not a lot of practitioners do. And, you know, feel really energized and feel like you're giving from a place of overflow instead of from sustenance. So what is your capacity? And then I talked about the money mindset around insurance, and something else around like the pricing is like, it's completely up to you. There's no standards, especially in the virtual space. There's no like set standards. Whereas, when you're working in an insurance model or you're working brick and mortar, a lot of times it's like, well, the people in my area, they're charging, $100 to $200, $300 an hour. So like I should probably be around there because you're a commodity, right? Unless you have a really amazing reputation in your neighborhood, right? You're more of a commodity. It's like, oh, well, they're cheaper, so I'll just like go over there. Another reason why it's really important to nail in your identity and your special sauce and figure out what that unique shine is that you have that I mentioned earlier, right? But back to pricing, it's like, what is your knowledge and experience? Are you just graduating, a certificate program or something like that? Or have you been in practice for 20 years? I just had someone graduate the Wealth Mentorship who was a chiropractor for over 40 years. And then he was done with that. And then he was like, oh, well, I just want to I want to dive into virtual practice. That sounds super fun and exciting. Right. I love that. So where are you there? Who is your client? Are they just a super normal person, mom, 9-to-5er? Are they a multimillionaire? Are they, a business investor? Like, who is your ideal client? What makes sense for them to invest? And then what's your reputation? What kind of results do you get? Do you get reliable results? This is one of the reasons why I use functional labs. That really helped me stick out in the online space, because I did functional labs and I approached it in a very holistic way with cross-referencing. And so I got stellar results. And now the people inside the Wealth Mentorship, they're getting stellar results with their clients, right? With those results, that builds a very good reputation and people end up referring, right? You get really good testimonials. And then what level of support or access does your client or patient get? Do they get 24/7 access? Are you like on call? Do you go to their home? Is it like concierge service? Right? Like, what level of support do they get? All of that plays into your pricing. And again, going back to time, right? Money is a renewable resource. Time is not. So price accordingly. I had a couple questions that were posted inside of the event itself. So let me tap into that real quick. One of them was narrowing it down to a specific problem and result. So I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, just around the fact that you cannot guarantee a result, right? But when it comes to specific problems, so you can decide who you want. Again, this goes back to like a dream client or your ideal client. Like, what are they dealing with? Who are they? What's going on with them? Are you condition specific, or are you sort of more like psychographic specific as far as your niche or your ICA goes? So for example, if you're working with people, I don't know why, but PCOS or excess androgen syndrome came into my mind. So if that's the condition specific approach that you're doing, narrowing down an offer for that, you could for sure create an offer that addresses XYZ, right? The certain things that are going to be needing to be addressed for excess androgen syndrome, right? We're going to have to address blood sugar dysregulation, inflammation, detox pathways, right? So that's how you could fit in sort of your milestones. Okay. So let me know if that answers your question. And then the other one was confidence to launch it and not going on tangents. I'd be curious to know more what you mean about and not going on tangents means. But confidence to launch it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier around like the embodiment, the confidence, really knowing your worth and knowing what it is that you're offering. The more practice that you get, the more people that you work with, especially working with ideal clients, that's going to give you so much positive feedback. And the more of that you get, the more confident you're going to become. And it does, as with anything, it takes time, it takes practice. But just knowing, sometimes I will say at the beginning, sometimes you can almost give yourself confidence by realizing how much these people really need your help and knowing that you do have the ability to help them, at least bring them to the next stage, right? And so just knowing that can sometimes give us that confidence of like, I know I can freaking help you, right? But then just verbalizing it and not going on tangents. One way that I help myself not go too far off with tangents is just having like a little outline. If I'm not entirely, if you're talking about like the sales call, I have like scripts and things that I provide inside of the Wealth mentorship, so it helps keep people sort of on track. But yeah, if you want to ask a more specific question around that, happy to answer that. So I think that's all we have for now. Let me just make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. I can find, here we go. Oh, I see what comment. Just tell examples or stories. So is that what you mean by not going on tangents? You can absolutely if you could expand on that, that would be helpful for me. Just tell examples or stories. I think examples and stories can be helpful for the client if you can relate in some way, right? Like sometimes, especially if you're making a big investment or you're having your client make a bigger investment than they're used to, sometimes just giving them an example of when you made a big investment, right? And that's actually touching on that, right? It's like if you're asking your client or patient to make a $10,000 investment in themselves, I would definitely take a pause and ask yourself if you've made that investment with yourself, right? And I'm not talking about education. I'm talking about like bettering yourself, your situation, right? So that creates a lot more confidence too. Like, for example, I mean, let's just be totally transparent with like finances, right? It's like last year I invested $40,000 in mentorship, and this year I'm likely doubling that. And so like with my mentorship, like I know it is beyond worth what I asked for it for the mentorship, because I get to bring all of that knowledge and wisdom and experience into the mentorship. And so the value just exponentially grows, right? So I like have no hesitation. So I have like all the confidence in the world to be like, yeah, the mentorship is X amount. And yeah, I hope you have a beautiful evening. I hope this was helpful, and I will chat with you soon. Bye. All right, that's a wrap for today. If you want the exact breakdown of how I help practitioners go from their first 5K to consistent 50K months with just 2 offers, 10 hours per week, and an audience of less than 500 people, be sure to click the link in the podcast description or head to wealthywoman.co/breakdown. To make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe. And for daily online practice insights, follow me on Instagram at wealthywoman.co. Let's create your life of wealth, full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy.